Yo, and it looked like ESPN just told the shocking truth as to why Sandy Brondello was let go by the New York Liberty.
The WNBA was just rocked by a move nobody saw coming, and the story behind it is even more shocking than the headline itself. ESPN just pulled back the curtain on why the New York Liberty fired Sandy Brondello, the coach who delivered their first ever championship. The reasons are a toxic mix of ego, power, and a secret ultimatum that set her up to fail from the start.
The New York Liberty have let go Sandy Brondello. Well, in their terms, they will not renew her contract. In our eyes, they parted ways. She was fired, essentially. But not as bad as being fired, I guess. But that's just how we talk out here. Nonetheless, I'm shocked. She's been a coach there for 4 seasons. You look at the past 3 seasons, she made it to the finals in her 2nd season. She won the finals in her 3rd season, and they lost in round 1 this year. Outside looking in, you look at this franchise and you see that's a successful franchise. New York is a powerhouse in the W right now. So what is the issue? What is the front office looking at? What are the ownership?
The headline.
The news felt like a typo at first. Sandy Brondello, the winningest coach in franchise history, was suddenly out of a job just 1 season after making history. But ESPN's reporting confirmed this was no mistake. It was a calculated, cold-blooded decision from a front office that appears to value control more than championships. This wasn't about one bad playoff series. This was a story brewing behind the scenes for over a year. The most stunning revelation from ESPN's insiders was the secret condition placed on Brondello's job. Before the playoffs even started, management had reportedly decided it was a back-to-back championship, or she was gone. Let that sink in. The woman who broke the franchise's decades-long curse and brought them a title was given 0 grace period. The celebration parade had barely ended before the clock started ticking on her execution.
Winning the title, what exactly led to the parting of ways between the Liberty and Sandy Brondello here?
Well, Malika, I know you guys talk about this a lot in the NBA and in other sports, but it was really championship or bust for New York and for Sandy Brondello. And in fact, if they hadn't won the championship last year, we might have been having this conversation a year ago, which is maybe a little startling to fans outside, given how, excuse me for those noises, for how impactful she'd been for that franchise. But that is how bullish this organization is in New York, and how their ownership and management really are looking to just continue upon that success that they are.
This move exposes the ruthless mentality of the Liberty's front office. With owners rooted in the cutthroat world of Wall Street, the team is apparently run like a stock portfolio. If the performance isn't flawless, you dump the asset and move on. There's no room for human error, no appreciation for the journey. It's about cold, hard, and immediate results, and anything less is considered a catastrophic failure.
To have. And so I think for New York moving forward, I would expect them to really, again, be bullish in who they go after. We know that they are a WNBA franchise that invests a lot in a lot of resources, a lot of financial, capital into these decisions. So I think it wouldn't be shocking, though, if they decide to go after maybe someone in the NBA, someone that we might be a little bit more of a non-traditional hire. I do think Sandy Brondello has a great shot of getting hired again. We know what she has done in this league. We know that there's openings in Seattle, for example, in addition to the 2.
What makes this decision even more baffling is that Brondello's championship season was a coaching masterclass against adversity. She navigated key injuries to star players in a roster that wasn't always at 100%, yet still out-schemed the entire league to win the whole thing. A normal organization would build a statue for a coach like that. The Liberty, however, saw her success as the new bare minimum.
Sat down with ESPN to give us an update as to why Sandy Brondello will let go. And what's crazy about all of this in this interview that I'm about to show you guys is that Sandy Brondello was supposed to be fired last year, but she actually won the WNBA championship.
The standard they set was simply unsustainable. Winning one championship in the WNBA is incredibly difficult, a monumental achievement for any franchise. Demanding an immediate repeat from a coach who just achieved the impossible is not just unrealistic, it's a setup. It's as if the front office was looking for an excuse and they created a scenario where failure was the most likely outcome, giving them the justification they needed.
New York Liberty just fired their head coach. People are confused as to why, because they won the championship last year. They made the playoffs this year. In sports, there's always a scapegoat when things aren't going the way that they wanted it to go. Clearly, in New York, the standard has been raised. As Coach Tibbs learned with the New York Knicks, making the playoffs does not guarantee that you are safe anymore. They have raised the standard. They're sending a message to the fans, to the team, saying, we don't want to just go to the playoffs. We need to go to the finals and we need to win. So if it's not the players on the court that are changing, it's got to be the coaching staff. So unfortunately, that did mean Coach Sandy.
The way the firing was handled speaks volumes about the organization's character. There was no heartfelt goodbye or celebratory press conference, just a quick, bland statement thanking her for her service before the team immediately pivoted to talking about their search for a replacement. It was a cold, corporate dismissal that showed a complete lack of respect for the history she had just made with their team.
Yeah, you never want to see a player get injured, and a player like Caitlin coming back has had a few injuries this year. She's a great player. It would have been good for our craft to see her, but hopefully they get to see her after a post All-Star. They get to play again. As for the All-Star, I'm excited to get to know her a little bit. I think that's the part of the All-Star, is going to coach players that you haven't coached before and get them to know them a little bit and enjoy the whole celebration.
But here's where the story takes a darker turn into the politics of superstardom. ESPN's report hinted at a hidden tension point. Caitlin Brondello, like any smart coach, openly praised Clark's monumental impact on the league. That kind of talk allegedly rubbed the Liberty's brand-obsessed front office the wrong way. They want their stars, Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, to be the center of the WNBA universe, and a coach acknowledging Clark's gravity threatened that narrative. This move could have catastrophic consequences, starting with their MVP, Breanna Stewart. She signed a one-year deal, meaning she's a free agent. After publicly stating that the players had Sandy's back, watching the front office fire her anyway sends a clear message. Your voice doesn't matter. The Liberty just gave their biggest star a massive reason to walk away. But what about the other face of the franchise, Sabrina Ionescu? She was drafted by New York and grew into a superstar under Brondello's guidance. This wasn't just her coach. This was the only professional coach she'd ever known. Ripping that stability away sends a dangerous message to her as well. It tells her that the foundation she helped build is disposable, and her loyalty to a system means nothing to the people in charge. The backlash from around the league was immediate and harsh. When a coach as respected as Becky Hammon comes out and says she doesn't like the move, you know you've messed up. It's a sign that the Liberty's decision isn't just unpopular with fans, it's seen as unprofessional and senseless by the most credible minds in the sport. It screams of amateur hour from a team that wants to be seen as the pinnacle of professionalism. This all points to a dangerous case of NBA envy. The Liberty's ownership seems determined to operate like an NBA super team, mimicking the worst habits of impatient front offices. They want the drama, the headlines, and the swagger, but they're ignoring the fact that the most successful dynasties are built on stability, not chaos. This isn't the Golden State Warriors firing Mark Jackson. This is a team firing Steve Kerr after his first title. It makes no sense. Now the search for a replacement is already fueling more controversy. Rumors are swirling that the Liberty might look to hire a flashy name from the NBA assistant coaching ranks. It's a classic move from an ownership group obsessed with making a splash, but it's a reckless gamble. Handing a veteran WNBA roster to an outsider who doesn't understand the league or its players is a recipe for disaster. Meanwhile, Sandy Brondello will almost certainly have the last laugh. With coaching openings in Seattle and with expansion teams on the horizon, she'll be the most sought-after coach on the market. She is a proven winner with multiple titles. The Liberty didn't just fire a great coach. They potentially just handed a championship-caliber leader to one of their biggest rivals. Imagine her leading Seattle to a title. It would be the ultimate revenge. If you look at the numbers, the firing makes even less sense. Brondello took a middling team and turned them into a powerhouse, with their win count exploding under her leadership. Her record shows a clear upward trajectory that culminated in a championship. Firing a coach with that resume is not a basketball decision. It's a power play designed to send a message that the front office is the true source of success. This sends a chilling message to the players left in that locker room. They watch their coach lead them to glory, only to be thrown out like garbage. It erodes trust and poisons the culture from the top down. It tells players that no amount of success will protect them from the whims of an impatient and ego-driven front office. But the damage goes even deeper than morale. This act introduces a subtle poison into every future interaction. How can players trust the front office on anything now? If they'll discard a championship coach over ego, what will they do during tense contract negotiations or when deciding on a controversial trade? The foundation of trust between the players and the organization has been completely shattered. The fans are just as furious, and they're making their voices heard. Social media erupted with Liberty supporters calling the move a betrayal and an act of self-sabotage. Season ticket holders threatened to cancel their plans. The organization thought they were making a bold statement about their high standards, but instead, they've alienated their own loyal fan base and made themselves look like clowns. It wasn't just the fans either. The wider sports media has almost universally condemned the decision. Analysts on major networks are roasting the Liberty, calling the move arrogant, short-sighted, and a prime example of how not to run a professional sports team. The front office wanted headlines, and they got them, but for all the wrong reasons. They are now a cautionary tale. This story is bigger than just one team. It's a warning sign for the entire WNBA. At a moment of unprecedented growth fueled by stars like Caitlin Clark, the last thing the league needs is one of its premier teams imploding over ego. This kind of instability threatens to undermine the league's positive momentum, making it look amateurish from the outside. This all boils down to a franchise in the midst of a severe identity crisis. It was Sandy Brondello's methodical, culture-driven approach versus ownership's demand for Hollywood-style, non-stop dominance. The impatient vision won out, and the team's foundation was shattered in the process. They don't seem to know what they want to be. The Liberty desperately want to be seen as the WNBA's glamour franchise, the New York team with all the buzz and prestige. But this move proves they don't understand what glamour is. True glamour in sports comes from sustained, classy excellence, like the San Antonio Spurs dynasty. It doesn't come from chaotic, knee-jerk firings that reek of desperation and ego. They've traded substance for a cheap, flashy stunt. Management's decision to ignore Brianna Stewart's public support for her coach was perhaps the most telling move of all. It was a direct slap in the face to their superstar, a clear signal that the front office believes they are the real stars of the show, not the players or the coach who actually win the games. They believe the brand is bigger than the people. This decision will have a ripple effect across the league for years to come. Why would any top free agent choose to sign with New York now? They know that even if they win, they are just one season away from the entire system being blown up on a whim. The Liberty have branded themselves as a place of chaos, a beautiful house built on an unstable foundation. In the end, the Liberty didn't fire Sandy Brondello because she failed. They fired her because her success wasn't perfectly packaged in the way they demanded. It was a decision born from ego, a need for absolute control, and a terrifying disconnect from the reality of what it takes to build a winning culture. ESPN's report exposed it all, and the New York Liberty's supposed dynasty now looks like an empire built on sand. What do you think of the shocking move? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns of the biggest stories in sport.